doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy, and we're here to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Monday, February 4th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This week, watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel, and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com.
Yo,
what up?
What's up?
Not much, man. Another day looking to keep the hot streak going on NBA. Real quick, before we do jump into NBA, what's your thoughts on last night's Super Bowl?
You know what, man? I told everybody when going into the Miami game, so the Miami Miracle game, I told everybody that New England's going to win the Super Bowl because they're the only team in the NFL with all these high-powered offenses that it completely changed what they're doing and made a commitment to bringing a fullback, double tight end sets back, and they ran the football. And you saw last night, they absolutely controlled the game flow. They controlled the clock. They may have only scored one touchdown in the game, but they kept the Rams basically off the field. And when they dig on the field, their back half defensively played. It was a masterful game plan, I thought. I enjoyed the game. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy the game because they wanted more points to be scored. But from a coaching standpoint, like I'm looking at it, what a masterful game plan they went out and executed.
Oh yeah, no, I agree, bro. It's like they know how high powered the Rams offense is, and they just pretty much kept the ball out of their hands is what it really came down to for sure.
They completely mind fucked. They just did because there was so much talk, and what they did against Kansas City. I don't know if you got into what they did, but they pressed Kansas City quite a bit to disrupt their wide receivers, and then they brought pressure with a lot of stunts from their linebackers and defensive line, and that disrupted Mahomes. The timing of their routes. They planned on the Rams looking at that and then coming out in bunch sets and playing, trying to create man beaters off of bunch sets and create space to beat man coverages that the Patriots they thought were going to play. The Patriots came out, showed a too high look for the majority of the game, and at snap they were actually rolling to a cover 3 and bringing an extra linebacker in the box. So they were playing at the snap 5 D linemen, 1 linebacker, 4 defensive backs, and then right at the snap their free safety was actually coming in the box. When Chung went out, I thought this could be a major deal based on the scheme they're playing, but that's the Patriots. They bring guys in who can play in their system. They're so much fundamentally more sound than any other team in the NFL.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, hey, man, we got a 6-game slate. I'm ready to jump into some basketball. Real quick, before we do, if you guys don't mind, please take that quick second, click the like button down below for me. That helps me out. Really, really appreciate that from you guys. Yeah, man, let's just jump into this games, kind of get in, get out, and kind of get through our day. And we'll get it started. First game we're going to go with is going to be the Atlanta Hawks going into Washington to face the Wizards. This game has the highest implied total on the slate of 231, and Washington's favored by 6.5 in this one.
Hey, bro, one quick thing I wanted to ask you, too. Do you follow Barstool Sports at all?
Not really, no.
So I follow Barstool Sports because I love their pizza reviews. I love New York, and I'm always watching his pizza reviews, right? Dave Portnoy, who's the president. So Monday, the guy, he's been banned by Roger Goodell because he always attacks the NFL when they suspend people for, they'll suspend somebody for, one guy will do something, they'll suspend him for 2 games. Another guy will do the same exact thing. Like he's out half the season. Like there's no rhyme or reason. It's only Goodell, right? So he's never got a credential, but Barstool Sports is enormous. So he snuck into the media day Monday, and the NFL arrested him and pressed charges. And then last night they ripped him out of his seat at the Super Bowl, bro, and like carried him out and arrested him, put him in jail.
Damn, they hate him that bad, huh?
They do not like this dude, man, because Barstool Sports is, it started like a little Boston blog that he's blown up to. It's worth $200 million, and Dave Portnoy is a big deal, and Barstool Sports is all over the place. But yeah, they do not. They carried him out of his seat, man.
Bro, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to look that up. Barstool Sports. Oh yeah,
Dave Portnoy. It's crazy.
6.4 million. Yeah, he's big for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, man. So first game we got is Atlanta and Washington. Look, I think this has the potential to have some pretty good spots to play here. You could look at a Trae Young. I don't mind him at 7.6. Guy's playing a lot of minutes. You can take a look at his last 5 games, 26.8 points per game, really kind of coming into his own. I feel like John Collins is a little bit of a reduced price. Even though 8.1, he wasn't living up to expectation, I think that this reduced price is more of a fair price for what he's kind of been doing, and I don't mind him at all either, as big guys have kind of had their way, especially power forwards, against Washington. Outside of that, I'm okay with a bunch of guys here in GPPs. Basemore, if you want to take a shot, minutes get increased. Torian Prince at 4.9 is a small forward too. Even Herter's shooting the ball really well. And then Dwayne Dedmon. Say what you want about Dwayne Dedmon, but at 5.7 in tournaments, the guy's worth 5.7 on that price tag. I think he could pay off at 5 or 6x, especially in this matchup.
Yeah, man. On the Washington side of things, I mean, there's a couple guys we can look at, but everybody's just really fair price. Bradley Beal, 9.3. I mean, he's the main guy with no John Wall. I just don't know if I really want to pay 9.3 for Bradley Beal. I do understand this is going to be an up and down game, very, very fast paced. I just don't know if I could get behind that price tag on Bill. The guy that I really like, he came back into the starting lineup. Otto Porter, 6.6. That's a very, very fair price tag for him. I definitely think of all the Wizards guys, Porter is going to be, my favorite play on the Washington side of things. You can also look at Trevor Ariza. He's more of a GPP play. You could look to pivot off of Porter and go with Ariza. He's going to be lower owned. I definitely think Ariza's in play as well. 6.5 for Satoransky. I just can't really get behind the price. There's some other guys I'd much rather play in that price range. And then you got Thomas Bryant. I mean, the price tag is down. He's had some very, very good games on the season. It's just all about minutes. In the past couple of games, he hasn't been getting the minutes. 4 games ago against San Antonio, he scored 30 fantasy points. He scored 30 fantasy points in 30 minutes. Nice little double-double. But the past 3 games against Cleveland, against Indiana, and against Milwaukee, it's 23 minutes, 19 minutes, 18 minutes. I just can't get behind the guy with the minutes all over the place. Jeff Green back on the bench, not really interested. For me, I mean, I honestly, I just really like Porter is really the guy that I'm looking at on Washington.
Yeah, I can see that.
Next game we're going to go with is going to be the Denver Nuggets going into Detroit to face the Pistons. This game has a 210 over-under, and Denver's favored by 3.5 in this one.
So, I mean, look, this is a spot for me where Will Barton hasn't played up to expectation. Now he's 5.4 and going against a team that's really weak against perimeter players. I like him if Murray plays. I like him if Murray doesn't play. I like him both ways. Monte Morris obviously playing extremely well. You go right back to the well with Monte Morris. If Jamal Murray is in fact ruled out. And then the third guy that you'll have to talk about here is Mason Plumlee. If Paul Millsap doesn't play, he will get a boost as well as Trey Lyles. So there's your boost plays. Guys, I love going back to Jokic here, man. I just really do. I understand it's Andre Drummond. I understand it's 11.3. All the more reason for me to like Jokic here tonight. If Murray plays, I think that where Jokic is on my ranking list, he takes a couple of steps down. But if Murray's out, I love Jokic in this spot. The guy's playing at an absolutely unbelievable level as of late, and he's a distributor. 8.5 assists per game over his last 5 games, 13 rebounds and 24 points, 11-3 to pay that off. I have no problem getting behind 66, 67 fantasy points for the Joker tonight.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. Jokic is playing very, very well. But, I mean, he's going to be going against Drummond. Drummond's a big dude. I definitely think that he can give Jokic a little bit of trouble. He's long, lanky. This kind of goes to my rule. I don't like playing 2 pretty good big guys against each other. It's like I personally think this is a game Andre Drummond is probably going to get in foul trouble, but it could be the opposite. Jokic could get in foul trouble as well. It's kind of, for me, they kind of take each other out. I think the guy that really stands out.
I'm going to tell you why. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to tell you why I like it. Because Drummond has to play around the rim, and Jokic does not.
Right. That's why I said I think that if either one of them was going to get in foul trouble, it probably was going to be Drummond, trying to step up and take the matchup with Jokic. But, I mean, It could go either way for sure. I think the guy that I really like, especially if Paul Millsap is out, is Blake Griffin. Millsap is a pretty good defender, and I think he matches up pretty good with Blake. But if it's gonna be Mason Plumlee that's gonna start if Millsap is out, I think that Blake Griffin could definitely take advantage of Mason Plumlee. I think he's too fast for him. So it's some news that you definitely want to keep an eye on. But yeah, if I had to go between Drummond or Griffin, I definitely would go Griffin. I mean, pretty much the exact same price tag. Outside of that, I mean, I'm not really interested in anybody else on the Pistons. Reggie Jackson, 6.8. The price tag is definitely up. You got Ish Smith kind of back in the thick of things as well. You could possibly look at a guy like Bruce Brown. Minimum price 3,500, but the guy just hasn't. He's been in that starting lineup, but he hasn't really been doing nothing. I mean, look at this guy. In the past couple games, he played 20 and 21 minutes, and he got you a combined 8 fantasy points in 2 games. So, I mean, if you're gonna punt the position away completely, I guess you could consider him. But I'm not really gonna be looking at him too much, even though he's starting. I think that's more of a little bit more of a trap play. I just really, I mean, honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to just be boring, but the Pistons, they don't really excite me. And we know that the Nuggets are a really good defensive team as well. So for me, it's really just Griffin, and I'm just kind of ready to move on.
Yep.
Next game we're going to go with is going to be Milwaukee Bucks going into Brooklyn to face the Nets. This game has a 230.5 over-under, and Milwaukee's favored by 7 in this one.
I love Giannis in this spot, man. I don't care that it's 11-6. I absolutely love him. You look at the last 2 times he's played against Brooklyn, he put up 64 and 74 fantasy points respectively. Eric Bledsoe's the guy to watch. If he for some reason doesn't go because of that Achilles, I love Giannis even more. Middleton is kind of getting up there in a price I don't want to pay for him. I love Middleton, 6'6", 6'5", 6'4". But 6,800 to 7,000 is kind of a spot where I don't really want to pay him because 28 to 32 kind of seems consistent for Middleton. You start needing him to get you 35, 36, 37 with all the usage Giannis takes up, as well as Malcolm Brogdon. I think it gets harder for Middleton to get to get those fantasy points for you. So I don't feel like he has as good of a ceiling as anybody else does. But I'm really looking at Giannis. I'm looking at Brogdon, and that's really it for me on this side of it.
Yeah, man. And on the net side, I mean, you look at the obvious guys. I mean, first, D'Angelo Russell, 8.5. The guy just, made his first All-Star game. I mean, the guy's just been playing lights out. So I think whenever you talk about the Nets, you got to kind of start with their best player in D'Angelo Russell. The guy's just been, like I said, on a tear. Joe Harris is a game-time decision. If Joe Harris is out, and Napier is going to get the start. I think that the 5.8 price tag for Napier is very fair if he's going to be in that starting lineup. If he's going to come off the bench, I mean, he's definitely still getting minutes, but he's not getting, starter minutes. So 5.8, if he starts, I really like Napier. If he doesn't start, I definitely think he's a GPP play, but I can't really get behind the price. So it's just we got to wait on some news there. If Joe Harris is ruled out and a guy like Rondé Hollis Jefferson gets the start at a 4.3 price tag, I definitely think that he would be in play as well. DeMarre Carroll, 4.8. It's a very fair price tag for him. I don't know. Carroll they don't really want to play this guy over 30 minutes. That's really what the problem is. And at a 4.8 price tag, we need at least 23, 24 for value. And the guy's not really giving us no upside, to be honest with you. So, he's a GPP play. I'm just kind of really, outside of D'Angelo Russell, I'm just waiting on this Joe Harris news because if he's out, like I said, if Napier gets in that starting lineup or Hollis Jefferson gets in that starting lineup, I definitely think both of those guys are in a really good spot. So, we're just kind of waiting. And even Carroll, if Carroll was the one that slid in that starting lineup at a 4.8, maybe he'll get a couple extra minutes. So it's really, a lot of the Nets side of things is really dependent on Joe Harris, if he's in or out, and if he's out, who gets to start for him.
Brook Lopez, I forgot to mention him. I'm also looking at Brook Lopez tonight. The narrative, the New Jersey Net, now Brooklyn Net narrative. I do like Brook Lopez going against them. He's had a couple of monster games. A 54-point game is one of them against the Brooklyn Nets. So Brook Lopez, another guy that I will look at tonight in tournaments as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so moving on. Next game we're going to go with, it is going to be the Indiana Pacers going into New Orleans to face the Pelicans. This game has a 218 over-under, second lowest on the slate, and Indiana's favored by 3 in this one.
I really like everybody here, to be honest with you. I think that with what the value that's going to present itself at the point guard position, I think Darren Collison in this spot at 6.5 would be contrarian. He's probably the guy I like the least on this Pacer team. But Miles Turner at 7-1, I like him a lot. The guy I like the most, though, is Bogdanovich at 5.7, and then Corey Joseph starting at 4.5. You have to also put Sabonis in that mix at 6.2, coming off the bench. You know, they don't have a lot of bigs, and the one big that they've got, the guy that's been really popular as of late is Kenrich Williams. Williams is kind of hanging out around the perimeter and knocking down threes and doing some other stuff. He's getting rebounds, but they're kind of I call them bailout rebounds, like where a three goes up and the entire team is already taken off down the court, and you got 4 defenders sitting there waiting to get a rebound. So I like Kenrich Williams, don't get me wrong, but Sabonis in this spot against this depleted New Orleans Pelican team. If you look at who's out for the Pelicans, it's basically 4 of their 5 starters are out. So I like this Pacer team. A lot of people, I don't know if they realize that currently the Pacers are the 5th seed in the East, and the Brooklyn Nets, who we just talked about, they're the 6th seed. These are 2 playoff teams. So, I understand that they've lost their best player, Oladipo, but I like a lot of the spots, and I like this game quite a bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's value. There's continued to be value on the Pelican side of things. Frank Jackson, 3.9. The guy's playing a lot of minutes. This guy's he's probably going to be owned tonight, somewhat. The guy has, a little bit of upside, especially if he's going to play 42 minutes like he just did against San Antonio. You can't really chalk him in for those kind of minutes, but I definitely think he's going to get around 30 minutes in this game. At a 3.9 price tag, you can always use him as your job spot and kind of pay up elsewhere. Definitely think that he's in play. Jahlil Okafor, the guy is proving that this guy deserves to be a starter in the NBA somewhere. He deserves to be getting some minutes. And, man, I like him in this spot. Going to go right back to the well. He's had 2 games where they haven't been the best kind of game, so he's going to be lower owned than he has been recently. And they've shown that they will play this guy 35, 36 minutes. I understand that he didn't last game, but if you look at the couple games before that, Houston, the first game against the Spurs, Detroit, Memphis, he got the minutes. So I think that we'll play him minutes, and he's in play. Darius Miller, the price tag's up a little bit, but it's still a very fair price tag for a guy who's played, 40, 37, 38, 33 minutes. I like him. I'm going to go right back to the well. I think he's a very fair price tag. And then you go to their best player that they have right now with all the other guys out, and Jrue Holiday, 9.1. I understand the price tag isn't a give me price tag, but this guy has to do everything for the Pelicans if they want to win any games. The guy fills up the stat sheet. I like Jrue Holiday. I think that Jrue Holiday is a really, really good play. He's going to play a ton of minutes. And I think that he's going to be the best player in this game. As far as, he's going to score the most points. He's going to, fill up the stat sheet. I like Jrue Holiday a lot in this spot. Outside of that, I don't know. Can you get behind any of these bench guys for the Pelicans?
Williams.
You like Williams? Yeah.
I can get behind Williams. I can get behind Frazier. I can get behind Diallo. All in tournaments, obviously. I think Williams, you can make a case that he's definitely in play for cash, depending on what you want to do at the point guard position, because point guards thin tonight, but there's a lot of value and there's a lot of really good spots. So there's a lot of good mid-tier point guard plays. But this guy Williams, look at the last 3 games, 29, 37, 30, 29, 37, 25. That's a model of consistency for a guy coming off the bench. And he's done it against, a very good Houston team with a Kenneth Faried and those guys, a very good Denver team with, we talked about Plumlee, Jokic, Paul Millsap, and San Antonio, LaMarcus Aldridge and Bertans and Pirtle, all those guys out there. So he's done it against good quality teams. I don't see any reason why he can't step in against tonight at 4.9 and be a solid play.
Yeah, I think the 3 bench guys I would go with would be Diallo, Kendrick Williams, and Frazier. Frazier's been playing pretty well as well. Outside of that, I'm not really going to look at anybody else. It's really just, the 4 starters minus Solomon Hill, a couple bench guys, and yeah, I'm ready to move on. Next game we're going to go with is going to be the Houston Rockets going into Phoenix to face the Suns. This game has a 227.5 over under, and Houston's favored by 8.5 in this one.
I was really surprised how low owned James Harden was in their last game without Chris Paul against Utah. I don't know if it was because it was Utah, but the guy was very low owned and he got 80 fantasy points. So, I'm not looking for James Harden to pay off 13-8 tonight with Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is actually the best play for the Houston Rockets tonight at 7.3. We've seen this before. I'll refresh everybody's memory. Last year at Phoenix, Chris Paul comes back. His first game back, he played 25 minutes, and I think he had 51 fantasy points. So he plays really well against this Phoenix team. We already know his minutes have been increased to around 25. If he's going to play 25 minutes at 7.3, I understand there's Patty Mills and Frank Jackson and Corey Joseph and other guys that are value. But to me, Chris Paul at 7.3 seems like a really fair price tag against a team that doesn't play any defense at all. And this could be one of those games where if it does get out of hand, you could see 4 or 5 extra minutes out of Chris Paul in a blowout situation to maybe kind of get his legs back under him in a low-stress environment where they're already got a lead and he doesn't have to put a lot of pressure, cut to the basket, just kind of, get his stamina back. So I think that Chris Paul is the best play. Kenneth Faried at 8,000, it's a good play still. It really is, especially on this slate with power forward. There's not a lot.
We were literally just talking about it the other day. Like, Kenneth Faried was a super big steal for the Rockets, bro. They got the guy playing. He wasn't even in the league. Pick him up, and he's balling for him, man.
He was in the league just sitting on Brooklyn's bench, basically. I mean, he just sitting on a bench waiting to be played. I mean, he's been a good player in the league, man. The guy's a good player. He really is, and he's fresh. He hasn't really played in the last 2 years. So, he's got fresh legs. He doesn't have all the miles that somebody his age would typically have, and he's a really good player. So I think those are the best 2 plays. If you want to take Harden in tournaments, I'm okay with it. I just don't see the need to pay 13-8 for Harden against Phoenix when you've got, Giannis, you've got Jokic as other pay-up spots. So I think maybe in better situations. 13-8 is a big price tag to pay off when we know the guy's not making a lot of baskets off assisted. They're not assisted baskets. He's a high-usage isolation player now sharing the ball with Chris Paul. So I just don't see the need for Harden tonight.
Yeah, man, on the Sun side of things, there's definitely some guys that are in play. There definitely is. The problem is all these guys are priced right for their opportunity right now. Ayton, 7.4. I definitely think he honestly is probably the best play for the Suns. The reason I say that is without Capella, bigs have been tearing up the Rockets. I mean, Kenneth Faried isn't a real center. He's small for a center. I definitely think Ayton could really get his way in this matchup. So he's probably my favorite Sun. 7.4 for him, I think, is a fair price tag. After that, I mean, you can look at a Josh Jackson. You can look at a Mikal Bridges. Both of those guys are getting a lot of run right now. They're playing very, very well, but they're priced right. 6.3, 5.7. They're not the sub 5,000 give me price tags anymore. So those guys are a little bit harder for me to get behind at their prices. And then you got Devin Booker, 9,000. Yes, the guy has upside. Yes, the guy's playing very, very well. I just don't like the price. I mean, you need 45 for him to get value. If this turns into a blowout, I think that Booker and Ayton will be the first guys to kind of get their minutes buzzed off a little bit compared to Josh Jackson, Bridges. Those guys will still play some minutes in a blowout. I mean, you could look at Kelly Oubre coming off of the bench, 6.6. It's a really, really high price tag. But if it's going to be a blowout and he's going to play a ton of minutes in garbage time, the guy could have a monster game. He's been playing well since coming from Washington, so I think he's in play also. But outside of that, I'm not really going to look at anybody else. You could possibly throw in a Rashawn Holmes at a 4.4. He'll get some extra run in a blowout also. But yeah, man, that's really it. I like Ayton, and then like I said, the other guys you could use, but they're just all really, really fair price right now.
Booker's hot right now. 50 in his last 2 games. He's hot.
Yeah, but I mean, if he's going to get Chris Paul defense, I understand Chris Paul is older, but Chris Paul is not a slouch when it comes to defense. If he's going to be matched up against James Harden for most of the game, then I definitely could get behind it. It's just kind of a matchup thing for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on, last game of the slate is the San Antonio Spurs going into Sacramento to face the Kings. This game has a 230.5 over under, and San Antonio's favored by 2 in this one.
Look, man, it's a 2-point spread in this game, and 230 is the over under here, and you have to love DeMar DeRozan at 7.8. I understand that Derek White is now out for the next couple of weeks, and I understand that Patty Mills is also a really popular spot tonight, but you cannot sleep on DeMar DeRozan at 7.8 in a game that's going to score this many points. This is one of my favorite plays on the board tonight. DeMar DeRozan in the last game, followed up by Rudy Gay at 6.2. Rudy Gay's having a really good year in San Antonio. Outside of when he's been hurt and he's missed because of that heel problem, Rudy Gay's had a really solid year. He's just had a solid year for an older player. Game winner he hits the other night. I like him a ton going back to Sacramento. He had a really good career in Sacramento. So, I like both those guys a lot. Aldridge at 9.5 is a lot to pay tonight at the power forward spot. I just don't know if I can get behind Aldridge at 9.5. I think he'll have a good game, but you're starting to look at 57, 58 fantasy points in tournaments for him to pay off, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 47, 47.5 fantasy points to pay off in cash. So I'm not sure I can get behind Aldridge. I can definitely get behind Rudy Gay and DeMar DeRozan and Patty Mills. Bryn Forbes is more of a tournament option for me tonight because I'm not sure how much they'll let him handle the ball at the point guard position before they bring Patty Mills in. I think Patty Mills gets extended run off the bench tonight against his Kings team. But a game I like and I'm targeting a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on the King side of things, I'm just going to go right. You want to talk about Devin Booker being hot. Buddy Hield's really hot right now as well. The guy shooting the ball lights out. He's getting a ton of shots. 6.6 is a very fair price tag for him. So when I'm starting with the Kings, I'm going to start with Buddy Hield. I definitely, I like him. I think he's a really good play tonight against the Spurs. And then you can go back to De'Aaron Fox. The price tag came down a little bit. He's not 8,000 no more. 7.6. I think is a very fair price tag for De'Aaron Fox. We know this guy has some upside. Willie Cauley-Stein is a very fair price as well, 6.1. I think he's in play. I'm not really messing with Shumpert. I'm not really messing with Bijalika. Another guy that I want to quickly mention is Marvin Bagley coming off the bench. The guy's been playing very, very well. Yes, he's fair price, 6.2, but the guy deserves a price tag. I definitely think he's in play. And lastly, I'm going to look at Bojan Bogdanovic. He comes off the bench. I like him when he starts, don't get me wrong. But, this guy's pretty much like their sixth man, and he plays in crunch time. He fills up the stat sheet. The price tag is up. That's what I do want to mention. If I was going to go between Bojan or I was going to go between Buddy Hield at the exact same price, I would go with Buddy Hield, but I think that Bojan is a good pivot off of him. But that's really it, man. It's really just, Fox, Stein, Buddy Hield, and then you can look at Bagley or Bogdanovic off of the bench.
Yep, and I wanted to wait till the end of the video to say what just came in, but the Lakers have now upped their offer for Anthony Davis. ESPN's reporting that they're now offering 2 first-round draft picks and 6 players. There's no word on who the 6 players are. We kind of have an idea, though, because of what they offered previously, but you have to think that they're banking on probably signing Carmelo Anthony if this trade were to go through to kind of thicken things up. You're looking at I personally think if the Lakers make this deal that this season is probably close to over for them because they're not going to have anybody who's going to fill out this roster. You're going to lose a Kyle Kuzma. You're going to lose Lonzo Ball. You're going to there's not going to be a lot left. The one thing I don't remember, but do you remember, was Caldwell Pope included in the first trade offer?
No, it was the first trade offer was Lonzo, Kuzma, Rondo, Beasley, and a first-round pick.
So I have to think that they've put Caldwell Pope in this one because they're talking about salary cap relief that they've offered the Pelicans. And I believe that with the expiring contract of Caldwell Pope, they would be able to eat that. The Lakers would eat that, and that would free up more cap space for the Pelicans getting an expiring contract from Pope. So I think Pope may be in this version of it. So you're looking at maybe they've got project their starting 5 with the guys they've put on the table. Who is it?
But one thing I do want to say though is I understand exactly what you're saying about this season would be over. I understand, but at the same time, you got Anthony Davis, you got LeBron. If you could sneak into like the 7th seed, stay away from the Warriors, man, I think that them two, I mean, throw a couple shooters around them, and I definitely think that them two could make some noise. You know what I mean? Like you got LeBron and Anthony Davis. You know what I mean though.
You have LeBron and Anthony Davis. You would have to make sure. I mean, that's the thing that I'm curious to see on who the players.
Sure, I think that you're 100% right with the Carmelo. I don't want Carmelo. Trust me, he's like a cancer. But if we got rid of everybody and we got Anthony Davis, Carmelo just sitting out there, and he wants to play. He wants to play the NBA still. I definitely think the Lakers would get Carmelo because they would, and I mean, like I said, as much as I don't like Carmelo, I mean, he's a guy that has some upside for us for sure.
He definitely has upside. He definitely still has some game. I just the thing that would worry me about getting Carmelo Anthony is in the history of the NBA, he's one of the highest rated isolation basketball players that the league has ever seen. He's an isolation player, right. And you're talking about you would need a version of Carmelo Anthony that could basically play off a pick and roll between LeBron James and Anthony Davis and be able to knock shots down to free up space and space the floor. That's the problem I see with me saying that the season's kind of done is I don't see how the Lakers are going to space the floor with giving up everything they're going to give up.
No, I get you. I mean, yeah, no, I understand. But that's why I'm just like, if we could just avoid the Warriors, as long as we can avoid the Warriors, Anthony Davis and the LeBron team could beat any other team in the West, to be honest.
I would be worried about – I would say this. For me to be – and look, I'm a Laker fan, so I could care less about this season being over for the future. I mean, I'm a big fan of the trade that the Knicks and Mavericks made. I think it made so much sense for both teams going forward, put them both in really good spots, freeing up space. This is a huge year for money in the NBA, so this will be the same type of deal. The Lakers are going to have cap space to go get another guy to come with them, and it's a good free agent class coming up. They put themselves in a great spot. As far as this year, the playoff run would go, I would think you would have to avoid the Golden State Warriors and the Denver Nuggets to get out of the first round. I mean, but a first round, playoff exit would be a hell of a lot more than the Lakers have had in the past few seasons, and it would kind of validify the season and the signing of LeBron James for sure.
Yeah, man. So, hey, it's going to be exciting next couple of days. Trade deadline's right around the corner. But, hey, that's all that we got for you guys, man. We will be back today with our NBA core play videos. I do that I do my cash game core on this channel. Jeremy does his GPP core plays over on the DFS Cheat Sheet YouTube channel. Make sure to go subscribe to that channel if you don't already. And we will try to get back with the NBA live segment a little bit later on.
You know what? I don't want to cut you off, bro, but some other news that just broke is the Sixers will not re-sign Corey Brewer to his second 10-day contract. That's another piece to look out for if this Anthony Davis trade goes through.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm telling you. I think there's a lot of cheap, solid veterans that we could go pick up. I mean, just for this year, So, hey, that's it, man. That's all we got for you guys. Thank you very much for checking out this video. 6 games broken down for you real quick. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you got those notifications turned on. This way you don't miss any of our videos. But as for this video, man, that's all we got. If we don't talk to you before then, hey, make sure and if we don't talk to you before then, good luck on you guys' contest tonight. Make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Peace out.